My husband Owen and I have been trying for a baby for years with no luck. I would be happy to adopt, but Owen's family is against it and has influenced my husband to also be against it. After our second year of trying, I begged my husband to go with me to get a checkup to see if either of us or both of us is infertile. He was strongly opposed to this, as all the men in his family are extremely fertile, but eventually gave in, and as it turns out his sperm count is extremely low. He was heartbroken, as was I, and we both got therapy. After a year of no longer trying, I got pregnant but lost the baby, and we were devastated. Owen blamed himself and proposed that we start the process of getting into a family planning center for a sperm donor, which I agreed to. He asked me that we not tell either of our families about this or our friends, and I agreed because I would never want to emasculate him. With the help of our donor, I was able to successfully become pregnant, and we had our little girl last year. She is healthy and progressing amazingly, and I thank God for her every day. I kept my promise and never told anyone. However, Owen is struggling with connecting with our little girl. Here is where the trouble begins. Last month, when he went out of town with his brothers for their friend's bachelor party. While on the trip, Owen told his brothers about our infertility issues and that our baby wasn't biologically his. One of his brothers must have told his wife, who told my husband's mother. I don't know why she would tell my husband's mother, except that she has never liked me. Their mother then came to our house and called me a lying whore and tried to get my husband to leave with her. He just stood there silent. I told her that it was Owen's decision not to tell anyone, and she asked him if this was true. Again he was silent, which his mother took as me being the liar. She then went to our nursery and started taking everything she'd ever given us for the baby back. I told her I didn't care about it, and I made more than enough to buy everything she gave us myself and better quality. This set her off, and she called my baby a filthy bastard when she said that I did something I know was harsh, but I believe she deserved it. I physically pushed her out the door. I didn't hit her, but I did put my hands on her shoulders, pushing her out the door, and threw all her shitty things out with her. After spirits had calmed down, I realized my husband had said nothing when his mother was berating me, calling me a liar, and when she called our child a filthy bastard. So I asked him why he was silent. He said he wasn't raised to be disrespectful the way I was, and that his mother hadn't said anything that wasn't true. She was just hurtful with what she'd said, and that we should let it go and wait for his mother to forgive us. I told him that I would never let it go, that his mother and anyone who agreed with her was not welcomed in our home, and that I don't need to be forgiven when I've done nothing wrong. He then said the house was his, and as the head of the family it was his decision. I told fine, but why did he allow her to call me a liar and a whore? Those things are not true, and our child, no child really, should be called a bastard. He just repeated he would not argue with his mother. After that, I stopped speaking to him and started gathering up my daughter's things and purse and walked out the door with her. He tried to stop me and told me I couldn't take his daughter anywhere without him, and I lost the little bit of composure I had left. I told him she wasn't his daughter. He'd proved he didn't see her as his daughter when he'd allowed his mother to call her a filthy bastard, and told him she wasn't his. He broke down into tears and begged me to come back inside, but at the time I felt nothing. He looked pathetic to me. I've taken my baby with me and gone back home to my parents and finally told my family the truth, which feels so good. They are completely in support of my decision and are not allowing my spineless husband anywhere near us, as he still refuses to apologize to me or set the record straight with his family. However, I told the sister-in-law that I was close to the truth, and she told the rest of his family. Half of his family is understanding while the other side is on his mother's side, but they all are mad at my husband. I need time to cool down, but I know eventually my husband and I need to figure our marriage out. One thing is for certain, I will not return to his house until he apologizes to me and promises to protect me and his daughter fiercely. I want to see this in action form, starting with him telling his mother what she did was wrong and banning her from coming to see us until she asks for my forgiveness. We were also planning on having more children, as he wants a big family, but that is off the table as I don't believe he is ready, and we both need to get back into therapy. Comments where Op has replied. A. Love, ask yourself this: do you believe he is capable of changing? Everything he has said and allowed to be said to you is nothing but disrespectful. Oop, I am beginning to conclude he does not love me enough to change or protect us. ACM 915, does he have any redeeming qualities? It does not seem so, and I'm sure you are aware there is nothing worth saving. Please don't allow yourself or your child to continue to be abused by these total lies. Oop, I will most certainly never allow my baby to be abused verbally or physically, and his redeeming qualities are few. Fit_anywhere_4405, I am confused. Your husband had a low sperm count, but he was still producing sperm, and the IVF clinic would normally harvest your husband's sperm and choose the healthiest candidate and then inject it directly into one of your eggs. Why did you decide to get a third-party sperm donor when your husband was still producing sperm, albeit at a much lower quantity? Defective sperm and low sperm count are not the same thing. Oop, a healthy donor was less expensive and had a higher chance of success than IVF. We've had many friends who did IVF and spent hundreds of thousands of dollars only to have no results and or more miscarriages. We explored all our options thoroughly and he chose this one. Update 1, February 1, 2024. I want to start by thanking those who were so kind. Your words of encouragement and advice were greatly appreciated. Here is my update. Apparently, after I left my husband's house, my Bill, and Sil accused me of cheating. I'd already begun speaking with a lawyer after Owen refused to tell the truth to his family, but knowing he let them tell other people I cheated is like getting punched in the chest. I'm now renting a nice 2-bedroom apartment. My siblings and their partners have helped me furnish it, and my top priority is ensuring my baby has everything she needs. Currently, I'm working to create a cozy nursery for her and hiring a nanny. Facing the end of my marriage is terrifying, but I'm learning to accept my new reality. When I notified Owen I was going to file for divorce, he started calling and messaging nonstop. His messages range from begging me to come home, telling me he will tell the truth and get therapy again, begging to see our baby, and then threatening to drag me home. I told him the divorce was happening whether he liked it or not, because he failed as a husband and failed even worse as a parent. He then sent photos and videos of my things in the garbage and him and my bill trashing the nursery. His exact words, "I don't need it anymore." In the most disturbing video, he threw our baby's car seat in a dumpster. I do not recognize him or his behavior anymore. He claims to miss his daughter and me, but is trying to make his behavior my fault for not doing what I'm told. This is not the man I agreed to marry. The man I married was smart, kind, gentle, thoughtful, and funny, but this vileness from him was waiting for me the moment I didn't obey and take the disrespect from his family to save him from the humiliation of his infertility. Before the fallout with his mother, he was nothing like this. It's certainly not an excuse, but I believe it all centered on him feeling emasculated and humiliated by his family. I just can't believe he couldn't at least stand up to his family for me and our baby, the one he said he would die for. I am not blocking Owen, as my lawyer said to email everything he says to me to him, but the constant threatening messages make me scared to leave my home. Owen knows where I work and has repeatedly told me he will drag us back if that's what it takes and that I'm making him do this. My lawyer and I are working on a restraining order, but every woman who was attacked by her ex-husband knows restraining orders don't keep you safe. However, things took a turn when my Phil showed up on my parents' doorstep, and it's the reason I decided to update. My Phil asked to speak with me. My parents told him they would call me and ask, but if I said no, then that was final and he would not be welcomed back. I only agreed to speak to Phil because he told my parents he was there to apologize for his family and set the record straight. My dad called me as my Phil was blocked from calling me, and when I picked up, my Phil immediately apologized for his wife's behavior. He wanted to hear my side of the story as he did not believe I cheated. I thanked him. I was never close to Phil, but we've always been civil, and let him know of course I did not cheat. I told him of his son's infertility and that Owen proposed we get a donor. I told him very clearly it was his son's decision, and that because my Phil and his family put blood as the only valid form of family, my husband made me lie so our child would be treated equally. After I finished, my Phil seemed stunned. He was quiet for a while, then asked if his wife and son could come over and see my daughter in person as they missed us and were ready to be a family again, but I told him no. Phil then asked if there was anything Owen could do to fix the marriage, and I again told him no. Phil tried to say I was being unfair, but my dad stepped in and said Phil was overstaying his welcome. Before I hung up, I told Phil that his son was sending me abusive messages daily, and if he truly was sorry, then he should make his son stop. Then I hung up. My parents said my Phil was irritated that I did not respectfully say goodbye or give Owen a chance to save his marriage, but left with little fuss after my parents laid into him about raising his swine of a son to threaten his wife and child. Telling his father must have worked, because I haven't gotten a single message from Owen since then. I do not want anything from my STBX, not child support, not alimony, not the house, or any of his other assets. I just need him to agree to the divorce and give up his parental rights so my little girl can grow up with a family who loves her unconditionally. I have a good degree and a great job. My child and I will be fine without him. Owen's lawyer has made it clear they're going to fight us for full custody, and my STBX has significantly more money than me, but my lawyer is confident in our case and I trust them. Today my Mill has been trying to contact me as she wants to be in my daughter's life and is saying she is ready to accept her as she is. As if my daughter needs to be accepted by her. If it's up to me, their whole family will never see us again. Additional comments from Oop. Owens has destroyed hundreds of thousands of dollars of my electronics, clothes, furniture, and paintings. That's the only thing I will be making him pay me back for. I don't want any of his assets, just the things I worked hard to earn and he destroyed. There is a report. I don't know what will come of it. I had been living with my parents for 2 weeks before the first post and already had started to talk to a lawyer. Whether or not me and my husband worked on our marriage, I planned on not living with him for at least a while after he said it wasn't my house, and my parents pressured me to get a divorce attorney immediately when I moved into their house. Even when I still slightly thought things might work out, I was preparing. I went back and forth mentally, but I knew this was not sustainable. My family did most of the work finding me an apartment and paying for furnishing. It just took a while for me to leave my parents and physically move in. The only truly recent update is my Phil talking to me and learning, through my other family, my Mill wants to reconcile. Comments where Op has replied. Pine box waiting, you're a fool not to get child support. You should go for court-ordered support, his paycheck garnished. Oop, maybe I'm a fool, but this isn't his child. He doesn't care about her, he just wants to hurt me and make me go through this. Angelic Vixen, it doesn't matter if she is biologically his or not. Child support is for the child, and legally, he is the father. You'd be a fool not to go for child support. I get not wanting anything of his for yourself, but, As I said, the support is for the child and goes to the child and represents as part of the care for her, ESP if you push for full custody. It's to help provide for her care. Also, what a fucking puss. You're a saint to not push for what you're legally allowed to. God, what a dick. I'm glad you got her and yourself out of that situation. Oop, he doesn't want this child. I'm beginning to think he never wanted a child, he just wanted to fit the part. I'm going to take care of my daughter, I don't need his money, she also has my whole family looking out for her. My baby will want for nothing. Why would I force money out of a man who does not love her, and has no connection with her apart from staying in my life to make me miserable? Ashburn mom going to be buried in the comments, but how does one move out? Find an apartment, get the rental papers taken care of, move into and furnish a new apartment within 3 days? Seems a stretch. Oop, this update is not chronological by day. I've been living with my parents for 2 weeks before I made my first post, and my family was working to get me out of my parents' house the entire time as well as furnishing my apartment. I paid for some of the things, and my siblings, their partners, my parents and many other family members donated and bought things. Trust me, I could not have done this alone. Now on to the next story. Story 2. Father, who publicly shamed me and refused to accept that he has failed as a parent, now cries because I left him. English is not my first language, so please ignore any mistakes I may make. When I was a child, my parents loved me the most. I was planned, expected, and cherished. We didn't have much money, and they worked a lot, but they tried their best to show their love. This never changed with my mom. Obviously, she's not perfect, but she was always looking for ways to become a better person, to express love, and to learn from her mistakes. Unfortunately, the same cannot be said for my dad. Everything changed when I was 12 years old. We couldn't have a normal conversation without arguing because we never agreed on anything. When I started to disagree with him, he began to reveal his worst side. He constantly insisted that I needed to be perfect, perfect grades and perfect behavior. The only grade accepted was an A+, anything less, and he would berate me, calling me stupid, dumb, lazy, and saying I would never amount to anything. But even if I did score an A+, he would claim I had only done the bare minimum and didn't deserve any praise. During that time, I was bullied relentlessly at school because I'm a lesbian. I had no friends, and people would always call me names, throw food at me, and mock my appearance. I felt unloved at both school and home, with no one by my side. I remember showing symptoms of depression since I was 9, and they only worsened as the years went by. When I was 14, I made some friends, and they invited me to a show. I was thrilled and went straight to my dad to ask for permission. His response was, "Since when do you have friends? Since when does anyone like you?" He loved to say that no one liked me and that I was unpleasant, insinuating it was my fault for being alone. One day, he discovered I hadn't done my homework, so he printed a sheet saying so, wrote shame on it with markers, and hung it on my bedroom door. He even threatened to invite his friends over to see the paper and embarrass me further, saying that I should be as embarrassed as he was having me as his daughter. As a teenager, I did everything to get his attention, breaking curfews, picking fights with him, lying, and waiting for him to find out. I maintained good grades and tried to be the ideal daughter, but when I was on my best behavior, he wouldn't even acknowledge me. When I turned 20, I met my girlfriend, and we decided to live together. I left my parents' house and vowed never to speak to him again. My father had never really cared about my sexuality, he had despised me long before that. He never attempted to reach out to me, but when I decided to cut contact, he told everyone that I was ungrateful, that I hated him, and that he was a poor abandoned father. However, no one believed him, not even my mom, sister, or his own mother and sisters. Now, 4 years later, I'm happily married and pursuing my second degree. However, my mom has come forward, saying that he's always crying and expressing how much he misses me. I told her that I'm open to talking to him, but only if he's willing to acknowledge his mistakes and apologize. Unfortunately, he told her that he did nothing wrong. I want to emphasize that I've been in therapy since I was 12, and it's the only thing that prevented me from ending my life. And now, just as I'm finally happy, this situation arises. Comments where Op has replied. Your mother enabled him. That's the worst part, I think. I've spent years hating her for that, for making me grow up alone like that. But after a lot of therapy, I've decided to forgive her. She's always trying to grow and apologize for her mistakes, and she knows how much she fails as a parent too. But I'm totally aware of her lack of attitude. Ty. Your mom still needs to stop bringing him up. You're right. I tried to have patience. BC, she's hurt and he's always trying to make her hate me too, but she can't keep bringing this up to me every time. He won't change and never will. On giving him a chance. I gave him a lot of chances before, but he always do something to hurt me deeply. I truly believe he learned that from his mom, who's an evil narcissist everyone hates. But now he's another narcissist who blamed me for destroying our family. Deep down I want him to be better, to love me, to understand his mistakes, but he just don't want to. Very hard situation. Family therapy? He refuses to accept therapy. BC, he always says only crazy people need it, so I think cut contact is the only thing left to do. He just misses his emotional punching bag. I totally agree. He misses having control over me to humiliate and yell when he's pissed. I learned to never cry or show any sign of weakness. Every time he saw I was hurt he smiled like he's accomplished something he wanted a lot. Kinda sadistic if you think about it. I was truly open to talk, but we will never be family or love each other, it's just too late for that. But at this point I'm not so sure if I even want to just talk. On how he behaved with others. The controversial part is that he always said I was the perfect daughter to his friends in a way that shows he did a good job raising me. He never accomplished me when I was accepted in college but told all of his friends I was a smart. To people outside he seemed like the perfect dad who raised the perfect kids, but at home I was just lazy and stupid who would grow up to be nothing. All my therapists said he's a narcissist, so that's explain a lot. This exchange. Commenter, you were a child. You weren't supposed to gain your father's love. He failed as a father. You are allowed to mourn the father you deserve to have. Oop, Ty, for your kind words. I've spent all my life thinking it was my duty to deserve love from other people and make them like me as I tried to do with my dad, but therapy showed me that's not right. Love just happens and we can't force someone to love us. I'm definitely mourning this dad that never existed and hope one day I'll be free from that pain. Heart. Mini update, September 30th, 2023, 2 days later. I've talked to my mom to stop bring him up to our conversations and I think she finally understand. It takes me forever to understand that he is accountable for his actions. He gaslight me saying that he never did anything like that and I invented all of this to make him look bad to other people. I've spent all my life thinking I was crazy until my therapist says I'm not. And now I'm working on cutting my father off my life completely and forever. Update 1, January 8th, 2024, 3.5 months later. First of all, I want to say thank you for all the lovely words you guys sent to me. You don't have any idea of how much this post changed me. I've never opened up about my situation like this to so many people before, and I only did it because I wanted to see your reactions. I've always felt like I was being crazy or exaggerating. My father made me believe that there's nothing wrong with his behavior and that I was just being dramatic. However, seeing how shocked you all were, now I know that I was right to be so hurt. Oh, and I've come out as bisexual, so yay, D. But now, let's get to the update. Recently, I've decided that I wanted to write my dad a letter. I've tried talking to him many times to express how much he hurt me, but every time he cut the conversation, saying I was lying and he did nothing to me. Every attempt ended up with us screaming at each other because he refuses to let me finish one sentence without getting mad and telling me to shut up. This hurts me even more because I was silenced all my life. No one ever gave me the chance to say how I feel, and that's why I wrote the letter. In the first post, I mentioned that he wants to talk to me, but I knew that he would do the same thing as before, so I wrote a letter and left it on his desk when he wasn't home. I only visit my mom when he's not home. In that letter, I told him how I felt all my life, shared details about everything he did, and how this destroyed me. My mom told me he was devastated after reading it, and he wanted to talk to me about it. Of course, I refused. There's nothing more to talk about, and now I'm free from that agony. I feel so much better and relieved that I was able to spend Christmas with my mom, and his presence was irrelevant. I've spent so many special days without my mom and sister because I couldn't be in his presence without crying, and now I'm fine and happy. Thank you so much guys. Happy life for y'all.